coming home tonight for our friend Edward. I have a couple announcements before we get started. Just for those who haven't been here, I don't know if there are, but for those who haven't been here, this is our weekly Meet the Artist talk. We invite local and visiting artists at various stages in their careers to come and talk about their work. I believe Edward will encourage questions. Do you want people to wait to the end?
No.
Okay, interrupt him anytime. I have a couple exciting announcements. We have a photo book and zine fair that will be coming to our other building the weekend of July 6th and 7th. We have over 25 exhibitors ranging from local to New York City-based presses, artists, publishers. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be all ages. It's free. Every morning at 11, we'll start off with a panel discussion on both days. So please come out for that. It's going to be very, very fun. We also have, we're offering portfolio reviews again, something we haven't done in quite a few years. I'm excited to say that we have a phenomenal lineup of reviewers. We actually have two of our reviewers in the house right now, Marina Chow and Andrew Moore. Oh my God. You were looking at me so deeply. Andrew Moore. We also have our very own Brian Wallace is one of the reviewers, Gail Fletcher from The Guardian, Sarah Eichow, just forgetting right now, Sophie Rabinowitz, some really exciting reviewers. So if this is something that you're interested in, it's a great opportunity. We'll choose between like 20 and 30 artists to participate. So definitely throw your what's the expression? Throw your hat in, I was going to say throw your ring in the hat. Throw your hat in the ring, please. It's going to be fun, and it'll be during Upstate Art Weekend. So it'll be during the day. You won't miss any of the amazing other things that are going to be going on that weekend. And lastly, we do have one spot that opened up in Raymond Meek's upcoming workshop, which will be not this weekend, not next weekend, but the following weekend. And it'll be over the course of 2 weekends. So if that's something you're interested in, take a look at the cards on your seat to find out the exact dates. And that's going to be a really special one. It's going to be over the course of 2 weekends. In between, participants will be invited to just use our digital media lab without it being open to the public. So it'll be cool. All right. Without further ado, why you're all here. Edward, our friend Edward, was born in Vienna, Austria, and studied architecture at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich, Switzerland. After graduation, Edward taught, practiced, and photographed architecture. First in Zurich, Switzerland, and then moving to the United States. He taught at the School of Architecture at Syracuse University, and then at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York. In 1989, Edward moved to New York City to concentrate full-time on architectural photography. Since moving to Kingston, Edward has extended his architectural photography to include landscapes, and in particular, views of the Hudson River in its valley. He loves to explore old and new points of view, observing the change of the seasons and time. Can we give a warm welcome to Eduard Hueber? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's amazing that you made it all here despite the rain. So, and you look more dry than I thought. Okay. I'm basically educated as an architect, and I carried that education into photography, and it served me well as an architectural photographer. Now, this image, I took this in April of last year. And if you want that the projection of the building is orthogonal in the camera, your film or your chip has to be parallel to all 3 axes of the coordinates. So this kind of takes a whole lot of preparation. Then on top of some, there's always little things. And how do I do the next slide? There we go. So this is a different situation, but it's a quick sketch of the site of a building and incorporates the culture around it, the language that is spoken, and the local customs. So before you get to the image you saw first, there's a lot of trying out, basically scouting with a purpose. And you see from the light and the shadow that these are all taken at different times. These two around the same time. Obviously, this is in the afternoon when the sun turns around. This is in the morning. Okay, next. So to give you an idea where I come from, Austria is basically in the center of Europe, the above map, and the second map is a test to see how does Austria compare to the size of the United States. And it's small, but look, it's about a third of the size of Colorado, but it has 3 times as many inhabitants. And then if the Rockies cross Colorado north-south, and the Alps cross Austria basically in the middle, 60% of Austria is Alps. So the rest of Austria lives in the meadows. Anyway, yep, here we go. That's the neighborhood I grew up in. Vienna is a funny city, and it's a weird city, and nothing ever changes. And that's a reason to get out. But there was this architect, Hans Hollein, and he built this candle shop that was done in 1965. And before that, the screen that screened off the building site was all with astronauts. And then it's funny to know that the moon landing was 4 years later, 1969. And so in terms of music, Rubber Soul was 1965, and Let It Bleed with Gimme Shelter was 1969. So how the culture developed in that time. I was born 1948, so 1969 I was 21. Oh, I think I went in the wrong direction. Yes. So Hans Hollein and Walter Pichler were 2 artist architects in Vienna that practiced very many things, and they had an exhibition that was enormously influential, and they created that exhibition together, and those were sketches of urban landscapes, urban centers. And in this special sketch, Hollein did the top part and Pichler did the bottom part. And no, what I'm saying is, when you look at the candle shop and you wonder where does this formal vocabulary come from, that's where it comes from. Another good example would be Garrett Riedfeld's red and blue chair and his Schroeder house. That are basically the same thing, just the dimensions a little bit different. Okay, so we're talking about the center of the city in Vienna. Yes, there we go. The Reti candle shop is right here. Next, if you ever go to Vienna, Demels is right here. They were the confectionery maker to the court of the emperor, and they still do it today. You have to go there. Then this building is right across from this building. Demel, D-E-M-E-L. And so this was done in 1910. And at that time, this was in full power. So for an architect to do this, you have to think about like building across from the White House. This, if you remember the map of Europe, and if you want, I can go back, but Austria once incorporated, back then it was Czechoslovakia, and it incorporated Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Hungary. And I don't know how many people were in that conglomerate, but it was big, and it was one of the world powers. And unfortunately, they lost their power because they started World War I. But that's another story. Yes. Okay. So, but just to give you an idea of, I see these two pictures right next to each other. You don't. So this is kind of cool. You know that you have to. 1910. Loos was born 1870, so he was 40 years old. He was a young architect. Okay. Next, this just as an illustration of these. What do you call it? Sculpture is about 30, 40 feet high. And it's called The Power to the Sea, and the other one was The Power to the Land. But, you know, as a kid growing up, I lived 3 walking minutes from there. I was like, ooh, if something's wrong with me today, there you go. Then, no, sorry. Here we go. Then I went to Zurich to study architecture in Zurich, and the simple reason for studying architecture in Zurich, that the Swiss are much more efficient than the Viennese. In Vienna, you studied at least 16 semesters, and in Zurich, you do it half the time. Paris. For about a year altogether, I lived in Paris, and this is the building by Adolf Loos, the same that did the Michaelerplatz. He did it for Tristan Tzara. Tristan Tzara was from Bulgaria, Romania, I forgot. And he was a Dadaist. They founded the Dada movement in Zurich, and it was counter-establishment, it was utterers, stutters, ramblings, stuff like that. And you have to imagine if you have poetry and then somebody comes along like that. It was quite something. Now, I love this building for being able, why am I telling you this? When you do architectural photography, I think you have to investigate the building that you want to photograph, and you have to find out the reason for the forms. You have to find out the reason of how the whole thing came together. And then, so you do an analysis, and the analysis basically is you take the building apart to its parts. So the top, see how the top of the building is curved? That's not a lens distortion. That is because this is a painting of the making of the Avenue Junot, where that building stands, and right there, that's where the building will stand. And see how the curve. What I'm trying to get at is that the building takes reference to the normal, usual building of Paris, developing its volume between 2 walls. These walls carry the flues and the chimneys and have the upside down flower pots as chimneys, which you see all over Paris. And Loos does the same thing. Then, here we go. Sorry. Down there, Loos, look at the chimneys, and look how Loos, as almost the only one, incorporates the retaining wall into his design and sets a prismatic volume on top. No, I'm sorry. I'm never going to learn this. Also, notice sawtooth elements or stones, and these stones have a name in Paris because they wait for the next building to come in, so they're called the waiting stones, or in French, les pierres d'attente. Yeah, and now, sorry. Okay. Twice the same section through the building, once analytical, once neutral. The red zone connotates the sequence of primary spaces against which the other are set. The gray space is a rentable apartment that is accessed through the back court. The top space is accessed from the front. The gray space is accessed from the back. Now you might understand. So what you saw in section, from the breakfast room down to the living room, that is the main sequence of spaces. And that is my head is going German, English, English, German. And that is called Raumplan. And Raumplan is very difficult to translate. I would call it strategy of spaces. And what it does is that Loos says nothing is small, nothing is big, all is in relation. So he opposes the smallest space possible within the context against the biggest space possible against the context, which then, gives mutual enhancement. Okay, so, I think I forgot maybe the most important thing is that I lived for about a year in Paris. And Paris is this wonderful city where one house looks like the other. And it's such a strong city because of that. And I was looking for the quintessential Paris or Parisian house. And then I went to visit by par hasard. How do you say par hasard in English? By chance. This happens to me all the time. I don't know if it's good to grow up trilingual. Okay. Especially under pressure, I think I'm doing quite well, but it's you look for this word and it only comes to you in French or in German, not in English. Okay. I was looking for the quintessential Parisian house and found it in Adolf Loos. And I think that was not a coincidence, but a strategy of his. He writes about that. Every city has a character of its own. What fits in one doesn't fit in the other. And so because I grew up with him, because his house from Michaelerplatz was right around where I lived, I had a strong affinity. Then in Zurich, you had mostly Swiss German-speaking people and then a couple of Italian-speaking people with a terrible dialect. The Ticinesi. Anybody speak Italian here? Okay. Uno, due, tre. Wait. In Ticino dialect, 22, 3. 14, quindas, vindas is 11. And per piacere is per piacere. Well, German or Austrian German? Oh, Swiss German. That's a malady of the throat. No, well, look, Swiss German is a dialect of German that was spoken in the Middle Ages. And then, of course, that's what I wanted to say. The examples I gave you of Ticino dialect, they were called, I like that expression a lot, they were called the dialetto della ferrovia, which means the dialect of the train. Because before the train came, every valley had its own dialect. And then the train came and brought the dialects together. This is Lago di Locarno. This is Madonna del Sasso. And this is known as, speaking about every valley have its own customs. There's the Sopraceneri and Sottoceneri. There's the Monte Ceneri, which is the Mountain of Ashes. And south of that is the Luganese. And north of that is the Locarnese. And they don't like each other. Maybe now it's changed. So, next. There was an exhibition in 1975 in Zurich, and it was called Tendencies of Ticino Architecture. Then every Ticino architect was then called part of the Tendenza, and Luigi Snozzi was one of the protagonists. And I'm trying to think ahead. Sorry. Okay. Now we're getting into the realm when I was taking photographs. So this was taken with a Nikon F2 and Kodachrome 25. And this house was Casa Kalman. She was a doctor, and this was her weekend house. And she got this piece of land because it was terrible to build on. It was steep and narrow, and she got it for little money so that she could afford to build a house. The Casa Kalman has a remarkable plan and section, and so basically, the plan of the house plays the straight wall versus the curved wall. And that in section as well as in plan. And what that does is that, similar to Lowe's, one reinforces the other. And second, it makes that the terrain goes parallel to the curved wall because the terrain is curved. But to the straight wall, the curve is in elevation. See? Okay. Another big hero of mine was Mario Campi. And if you care to know, Kodachrome 25 and Nikon F2. That was, isn't it beautiful? I think that's because why I became a photographer, because I love the machines that made the pictures. I apprenticed in Zurich. When you study architecture, you have to do an apprenticeship for 1 year, and I did that in Hollein's office. And there was a Polish photographer and model maker in the office, and he had Nikons, and I was like, so. And then I came to the United States, and I delivered slides to Progressive Architecture, and they returned them and said, "Can you bring us some large format?" And what you could do in Switzerland was what do you call that split? The colors, you split the colors to print. Separations, yes, thank you. So making separations from slides was more difficult than from large format. And the Swiss could do it, well, because they're watchmakers, and the Americans had difficulties. So I bought my first Vista technical field camera, and I started photographing with that. And I was teaching at Syracuse, and one of my friends in Syracuse was Simon Ungers. Simon Ungers was the son of a German architect, and he went to Cornell, and then we taught at Syracuse, and Simon and I emigrated from Syracuse to RPI. And this is basically, I would say, Simon's Lifetime Achievement Award. It's the so-called tea house in upstate New York. It's a house built out of Corten steel. Corten steel is that steel that you have to protect steel against the inclements of weather. And there's various ways of doing that. You can put up an umbrella, you can paint it, or they figured out a way to let the steel rust to a certain degree and not anymore. We're not that sure about that, but so that is what Corten steel is. It has a layer of rust, and it is beautiful. I think I have some color pictures. It works quite well in black and white as well. Sorry. Oh, that was before, so that must have been maybe 1992. That was before the completion of the house. And it made the cover of Record, Architectural Record. And it was my first, no, it wasn't my first cover, but Record told me they never received as many hate mails about this project as with this one. And it was too alien in 1992. I'm sorry. Thank you. So, but I love this image because it's like a reporter straight in your face of the building. And I think that the material, the beauty of the material comes through. Then the client was a writer. And so basically, I'm missing a text, but that's okay. Basically, Simon explains that the directions by the client, he wanted a separation of live and work. And so he made one linear element for living. Then on top of that, a cube for entering, and then for making the decision to go up or down. And up was the two-story library. Let's go back to the library. There we go. Yes. Yes. As of Switzerland, we're in yes. I photographed Tristan Tzara as well, but I don't know where those slides are. I visited that the first time in the 70s. So, you know, they're somewhere. Say it again. No, these are Switzerland was with Nikon, US was with large format, and the first large format was Vista. And then I got a Toyo VX125 cost $6,000. Can you imagine? So I worked for at least a year just to get that camera. But it had much more freedom of movements. Do you know what movements are? Now, Alan, I know you know that. But does everybody know what camera movements are? Okay. Basically, the view camera allows you to displace the front holder and the back holder. The front holder holds the lens, and the back holder holds the film. And in between is a bellows so that no light comes in. And now what you can do is that you can raise the lens or you can shift it over. And the lens, all it has to do is have a larger image circle than the film format. And that allows you to move the lens around. Basically, the easiest way to imagine that is take any photograph, put it on the ground, and now hold your hands over it and move. And you see that you make, you frame other pictures within the pictures. And that's what the view camera does. Back in the back is the kitchen, then dining room, and the two-sided fireplace to the living room. And then, it's a Murphy bed, which is totally unnecessary. But Simon wanted to have the possibility of retracting everything so that it's the pure space, no bed. I'm sorry. Tomorrow I might know how. Okay. Photographing the tea house was also a lesson in lighting. I discovered that I could do whatever I want. And I could take pictures at times when I wouldn't think it would work. And this is a picture after what I call after virtual sunset. So the sun has not set yet, but it's not visible. The horizon is higher and it's behind the horizon. So you have this residual light, which for some things is the most beautiful light. Okay, on to New York City. The tea house is near Saratoga. If you show me a map, I can find it on the map. You know what? I don't know what is going on. I have no idea. The tea house was built 1992 through 1994, something like that, give take. And so that's 30 years ago. And the owner is younger than I am, so he should be good. No, I mean, you know, so he's, if nothing happened, he's definitely alive. And I don't know, I haven't had any contact. And Simon passed away 2006. Yeah, so that's almost 20 years ago. Whew. So I did it. This building for me is one of the most interesting buildings in New York City because it incorporates a whole lot. It goes from avenue to avenue, and it has 3 architects. That's 10th Avenue, I think. And then down there is 11th. And at 10th Avenue has a name, but I forgot. Columbus Avenue, I think it is. Is that? Anyway, so this is the original building, then this is the first extension by Raphael Vignoli, and this is the third extension by SOM. And this model is very illustrative of what was achieved to be done. And there's a whole lot of other things, like a train crosses through, and thus the tower is hung from the top and founded next to the train, obviously because of the train. And so there's floors that build up from the ground, and then there's the floors that come down. So you have a floor that has no columns because one is hung from the top, and the others come. And somehow that I don't think the architects have taken enough advantage of this magical, opportunity that they had. But anyway, who am I to discredit? But this path, this highway through the building is simply amazing. And it basically, the students use it to, I did it. And it's very well used, and they hang out there all the time. And see, slowly people are marching into my pictures. Okay, here it's only two, but into Borough Rapid Transit, whatever, a power plant, and the architect is McKim, Mead and White. And this is the highway of headlights. I think that is a very nice idea of how to group lighting. And the building has an intrinsic beauty. And now, so you ask, what can I do with all these movements? Well, so the middle of the picture is not in the middle of the picture. The horizon is not the horizon. So that's the things that you can do with a view camera. Then little things that I think enhance the sophistication of this building is the fins were done for shade and they were fritted. Fritted is a ceramic process that goes on the metal and that you can color. Those are colored dots. And one side was red dots and the other side was blue dots. Now, now we're going back to Austria. This is a very remarkable building. It's called 2226, which is, I have it here, in degrees Celsius, the temperature the building promises to keep throughout the year without insulation, without heating, without mechanical cooling. And they basically, they do it with thermal mass storage. Now, I had the fantastic opportunity to photograph this building twice. This picture was taken in 2013, and this picture was taken in 2023. Look at the size of the trees. Look. And now they're taller than the building. And I'd like to say that this picture is definitely influenced by joining CPW. CPW enhanced my horizon in a way that I never had imagined. And I'm very thankful to CPW for, how do you say that, for fostering me and for educating me. So, yes, this is 2013, and this is 2023. Yeah? Yeah, bitte.
What is the building for?
Oh, the building is their office. And for Baumschlager Eberle, they're a group of architects and they occupy, I think, 2 floors. The rest are rentable floors, and there even are residences in there. And yep, 2023, thank God for the art. And no, that was 2013. This one's 2023. And 2013. In comes CPW. No filter. Uh, um, hang on. The tea house was analog, digital. And so yeah, I thought I'm not going to show you the Canon 5D Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV DSR, but basically Canon. And since about 2 years, I'm using a Fujifilm GFX. I think that's the reason why they don't ask me back. It's too disorderly. But the dude sitting on the floor is the design director, and that's how he has his meetings. And I think the architecture is as good as it is because they have a very open, how do you say that? A very open discussion about how they go about their business. (2013). That's my butt. Okay, we're going on 45 minutes, right? So I think I have one more. This is, I think, the last project. I used to live on White Street in Tribeca, and the neighbor below me was Derek Sanders, and he's the owner of La Esquina. And well, that's New York. That's how you get your jobs, because your neighbors was somebody who does something, And so this project was photographed handheld with a Canon EOS R. And I think that EOS R made this kind of photography possible because it has unbelievable low light qualities, and you could approach it that way. So, and then I discovered if you put the camera on a table and the surface is shiny, it's a fantastic foreground. But about 5 years ago, we were asked once before this time to photograph the premises, and they never used the images. Well, because back then you didn't have the low light capabilities, and we disrupted the restaurant with lights on, lights off to reduce contrast, and on the tripod, and they were boring without people and nothing. La Esquina. Wait a second. I hope. Yeah, hang on. You know her? New York Magazine wrote about this restaurant, and they write, "This is the place your parents warned you about when you moved to New York. A literal underworld packed with a kind of multi-hyphenate party people who are equally enthusiastic about yoga and mezcal." It's urban Tulum. And it is so New York. If you enter there, you get to a white door. It says no admittance. That's how you get to the restaurant. Shiny foreground, kitchen in the people, and believe it or not, we're coming to an end. This is Storm King Mountain in a part of the Hudson Valley, which I think is the most interesting because it's where the Appalachians cross the Hudson Valley, and there's various forces working there. That's where the Hudson is the deepest, because it can't go anywhere, so it goes down. And then I don't know if everybody knows this, that the Hudson is an estuary up until Albany. And that happens because the bed of the Hudson is below sea level up until Albany. And that's again Storm King Mountain. The last mountain is called Crow's Nest, and the one in the middle, I never found out what that is called. That's what happens when you take your camera on the train and look out the window. It's the reverse. I'm moving. I'm talking to Alan Koppel. And I love the formal qualities that this valley can generate. And I'm a sucker for sunsets. I'm not going to do the Okay. Are there any questions? Andrew.
So the E&E, the bank building,
It's not a bank building. It's
is it a post office?
no. It's out of Lowe's, and it's a clother, a gentleman's outfitter. And rumor has it that out of Lowe's was a dandy. He loved to dress well, and he didn't pay his bills. And so then the tailors made him design shops and houses so that he could pay his bills. Out of Lowe's, yes.
What's the building, what's the official name for the
Oh, now it's a bank building. Yes, now it's owned by Raiffeisen Bank, and that's why you thought, and that's the title that it has right now. Oh, that's the residence of the emperor. That's the Hofburg, which translates to court fortress. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry that for me, those things are so present that I sometimes forget to point them out. Sorry. Yes.
Nothing is small, nothing is big, everything is in relation.
Lowe's. Adolf Lowe's. Adolf Lowe's was born 1870 in Brno, in Czech Republic. Back then, it was a part of Austria. Hang on. Yes. But I think so. Prague is in Bohemia. Yeah. Okay. Hang on. Wait. You asked about nothing is small, nothing is big. Out of Lowe's.
Yeah.
And basically what he tries to do is he tries to generate maximum perception, so that you come into a situation, and if two rooms have the same size, it's kind of okay, same thing. But if you have one small and one big, then you can relate one to the other. And there's because the principle of Chinese sweet and sour. Oh yeah. Yes. Yes. Go. They call it 2226. And sure. Thank you.
So little about real time photographer and why one photograph will not be different than another. And I feel like if you go back to a couple more, there's one of them like that, very different, and then you go back to another one. Like we talk about how this is so unusual. A couple more and then I'll stop.
Well,
One with the big open sky.
oh, come over here. You see, no, no, but what I see both at the same time, and that's something that I think is the
My point is, I would like for you to talk about your emotional responses as a photographer, not just how much you love them. Because I don't think all of these pictures are the same quality. I think some of them have more of you in them, and some of them are more.
I would disagree. I would say they're. Hang on. I would say they're all more than 100% me, but I have changed, and this is typical New York school of perfect architectural photography. Everything is sharp. Everything is focused. Depth of field is extended to the maximum, and balance of light. Then, sorry, no, then comes this. And most probably this was taken handheld, and most probably was reacting to the incredible scenery, and most probably it was also a reaction to the unacademic context. And so that's where I'm saying this is also me. Both is me, but one is a little bit older when I was younger, and one is a little bit younger when I was older. Yes, I would say so. I would say, yeah. That's a very good characterization. What he was first, although you're a lady, but he was, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Andrew was your student, and you wanted him to be developing personal style.
Andrew Moore?
Yeah, Morsat. Oh, I meant that. Sorry. You sat with your student, and you encouraged him to develop personal style that also was what's going to be on the cover.
No,
How would you
well, there's no question that Andrew is a big influence on my work, I would say. Well, I'm in the lucky position that I don't have to teach. Well, you can take the dude out of Vienna, but you can't take Vienna out of the dude. So I'm starting to like John Jay College of Criminal Justice because it's so diverse and it incorporates everything, and one respects the other. And I think this is a model for our society, that we respect diversity, we respect the other side. And I think that is possible in the United States, but we still have a long way to go. Hang on, it was Sarah. Yes. 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 Well, first of all, I listen to the architect and the architect's explanations, and I love to discuss with the architect what are the architectural themes, what are the intentions, what is the concept, where does this all come from, where, and then, you know, there's a whole lot of things that are not talked about because we know them already. And does that answer your question? Well, I would maintain that it's a good idea to study your subject matter. Yeah. Number one, Ezra Stoller, Pope of architectural photography. Number two, the Japanese guy with the horizontal C, Sugimoto. Yeah. Oh. Sugimoto photographed movie houses during the whole film, and that has such a convincing quality, and it's it's something that I can't explain because it's visual and without words, but you see it. Yeah. And then there's of course people that don't see it, but that series of photographs is so convincing, and you know it lays you flat on the ground because you're in awe. Oh, I am right and he is wrong. Uh, I SOM once asked me to photograph that building that is on the corner of where the Hudson bends. It's New York City, Hudson. It's a chamber of whatever. And the curve of the building is the curve of the Hudson. And when you went to New Jersey, the building flattened out. And when you took it from the same spot where the building is, you couldn't get it in because you were too close. So take a boat and go on the boat, and that was 4 by 5 days. And so the boat was the most unstable when it was still. So there was no way of, take a Polaroid, evaluate the Polaroid, and, so the only thing to do was to take the boat, have the boat moving, and take pictures without looking through the camera, because with a view camera, either you take pictures or you look through. So then I discovered while I was doing that, first of all, I used to play tennis, and the boat was going up and down. And so when you serve, the ball at one point stands still. So when you're up, click, and the boat goes down. So, but then I also figured out that with years of practice, that I know when a picture feels good. And that's the beauty of the view camera, that you basically can set the camera down where you think the point of view is the given, and then you choose the lens, because no matter what lens you choose, it's the same picture, wider or not as wide. But the perspective as long as you don't change the point of view, you don't change the perspective. Okay. So, moral of the story, I knew when the body with the camera in front of me felt good about taking the picture. That's one of those things. You experience that while you're doing that. And then, that was before September 11th, because we got the boat in Staten Island. It took us up the Hudson, and then it let us jump off the boat right, where the yacht basin is. And then I really got nervous because, I forgot to tell a part of the story. The last round I did, the last approach that I did, I took Polaroids, and they were all perfect. And I was like, oh my God. I practiced with a film, and the Polaroid is perfect, So then I went to the lab, and the pictures were amazingly perfect. It was, and so that's when I found out that when you work with a view camera, it doesn't matter. You can with any camera, that your presence and the camera, the aura and the energy that comes from the object that you're photographing and is projected on your piece of film or chip is the same energy that goes out the same way. So you, with your energy, control the sight. Does that answer your question? Okay, next Monday. No, yeah. I have to be careful because they might not be digitized. So we used to photograph color transparencies because that got the greatest colors, but it was the most difficult to expose correctly and light and whatever. Then we did color negative, and we had to learn how to get rid of the orange base of the color negative film. And then finally, I'm very happy about digital. It allows you total control. But now I'm biting my tongue, because with who did I discuss that a film camera is easier to do good black and white than digital? I was discussing that with somebody. Was it you? Okay. Yeah. So now I'm looking for film cameras that can accept the shift lenses. That's not easy and very expensive. So I guess my way out is to learn digital conversion in black and white, because also I have to say I love this exhibition. I love the quality of the craft of the images and the beauty of the black and white, and it's very, very hard to not be attracted to this work. Yes.
So you ended with the lecture with tree, bird leaves, and dust, unsaved.
Thank you.
So because that was a way to kind of maybe a selector, but I'm curious if that's these three
I think you got the real me. This is what I am. This is how I am. Yes, 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 yes. And that's the way I like to live, and that's the way that's the way I like to photograph. And maybe I should be more serious at sometimes, but
And so that's why I was curious how that balance is.
well, the wonderful thing about photography is you can try as long as you want, and all that can happen is you make a bad picture. Now, you know what I'm saying? So big deal. Yes, sometimes if you don't realize what you want to do, that is depressive, but that doesn't happen that much. Yes. The architect. No, no, no. Um, it was Ezra Stoller who said there's no architectural photography without good architecture, and he's very right about that. Now, good architecture is easy to photograph. You can do whatever you want. Bad architecture or is also easy to photograph because you can only make it better. Yeah. No. I'll have proof next week. Mediocre architecture is the worst. That is really hard to photograph because you can never satisfy the client. Why aren't the lights off? You know, stuff like that. And you try as hard as you can, and all they do is yeah, 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 yeah. But so the that's why I don't have that many clients anymore. I'm stubborn because I think I know what I want, and that does not always go in parallel lines with the client. But on the other hand, I have a couple of very good clients that I have kept over the ages and that are very happy with what I do, and I'm happy with them because they also give me the freedom. Baumschlager Eberlin might not like the latest issue of 2226, but they let me do it and they paid me for it. And they'll come around. Don't worry. They'll come around. They'll be starting to like the pictures. Okay. That's it. One more question. Yes. I apprenticed with Hans Holland. After I tried to find something in Paris, but that was the worst in terms of permits because it was the catch-22 of without a job you don't get a permit, and without a permit you don't get a job. Then I worked in Austria. I worked with a Austrian architect who's a wonderful guy, Hermann Czech. And he was the king of cafe design. And anybody of you been to Vienna? Do you know the Kleines Café? Okay. So and then no, I did not work in Zurich. That was the next thing. In 1983, I had the Swiss have a police for foreigners. All their business is foreigners. And I had the policeman on the phone that if I wanted to stay in Switzerland, and they said, well, if your application doesn't go through, you have to leave the country within 24 hours. Now you have to have the Zurich policeman say that, damit sie innerhalb von 24 Stunden Land verlassen. That was before EU, but Switzerland is still not part of the EU. No. They still have their franc, and they're having difficulties because the EU doesn't want to give them the liberties that they want because they don't want to become part. See, it's the Swiss. They're very together, and they don't. As I said, they know two kinds of people: Swiss and foreigners, and that's basically it. And if you're a foreigner, you're second class. And so, where did the question start? Yes. So I practiced in Zurich with friends. I practiced in New York with friends, but then photography took over and there was no more time to practice architecture.
For the
Yes.
sake of a metaphor, I'll no doubt do someday. What is the name of the dialect of the train?
Il dialetto dello ferrovia. Am I pronouncing that right? Find the word? I think that's a very nice notion. But like Switzerland, every valley had its own dialect. Yeah. And so the guy from St. Lawrence does not understand the guy from Bern, and the ones from Bern are the worst, and the ones from Basel are next. And it's like, okay. Well, good news, it stopped raining. Thank you for coming. Oh.